soon.
President-elect Trump there threatening to take back control of the Panama Canal, one of several provocative statements on territorial ambitions he's made in recent weeks, including multiple jabs at Canada's prime minister, suggesting Canada could become the 51st state, and more talk about taking over Greenland as well. For more on that, I'm joined by the outgoing chair of the Foreign Relations Committee in the Senate, Ben Cardin of Maryland, who is retiring from the Senate after 3 terms. So, Senator Cardin, first of all, do you take this talk seriously? I mean, you heard him say that that he suggested he will take back control of the Panama Canal. Is that something that can be done?
Well, Jonathan, it's a serious statement because it affects America's credibility globally. Our allies don't know whether we are reliable partners or not. The Panama Canal obligations were established by a treaty ratified by Congress, by the U.S. Senate. So I don't know what the president-elect is saying in regards to how sincere he is, but I can tell you it does raise questions globally as to whether we're a reliable partner. And it really feeds in to Russia and China's appeal to other countries as to whether they need to make alliances with Russia and China, whether America will be there for them globally. We saw the same type of statements made during his previous administration when he threatened to pull out of NATO. These are treaty obligations which our allies rely upon, and it raises serious concerns about whether America will be there for them.
And all this talk about Canada, you know, obviously there's the threat of imposing stiff new tariffs, but the trolling, you know, suggesting Canada could be the 51st state. I mean, he's clearly not serious about this, right?
Well, there's no way that Canada will be the 51st state. So it is a statement that he's making for effect. It's not going to happen. That's correct.
Okay, let me turn to something that is happening, and that is the effort to come to some kind of a resolution in Ukraine. President Trump, of course, has famously said that he, you know, can bring a peace deal to Ukraine. I know right now President Biden is working to get together the last, you know, one more tranche of military aid to Ukraine. Where do you see this going?
Well, you know, clearly the candidate Trump said he would resolve this before he took the oath of office. Well, that's not going to happen. The Ukraine situation is still extremely serious. We need to be with Ukraine. It's the front line of defense for democracy. We know that Russia will not stop with Ukraine. We know there are many other countries that feel at risk if Ukraine is not able to defend its sovereignty. That requires international support from democratic states led by the United States. So we need to continue to be there. And then we need to look for a way in which we can resolve the conflict. But we can't do that by pulling away our support for Ukraine. So I know some of the president's-elect's comments are very disturbing. I've talked to the Ukrainians. I've talked to the Europeans several times. I think they question whether America's resolve will be there. I can tell you we have bipartisan support in the United States Congress to stand with Ukraine because we recognize the importance to our national security.
Okay, and finally, I want to ask you, you decided not to run for re-election, unlike many of your colleagues who decide to go in the other direction, but you're one of dozens who have decided not to run. I want to point to one other Democrat, Democrat Ann Custer, who is among those who has chosen to retire. She said that she was doing this to make room for younger lawmakers. She told the Boston Globe, I'm trying to set a better example. I think there are colleagues, and some of them who are still very successful and very productive, but others who just stay forever. Should more Democrats, I guess we could ask this of Republicans too, but let's stick to your party, you know, should more Democrats follow the example that you've set, you know, and you know, moving on after a career in Congress and paving way for a new generation?
I think each person has to make their own decision. I've been blessed by the people of Maryland. They've elected me 18 times to the state legislature, the House of Representatives, and now in the United States Senate. It was time for me to give another person an opportunity, and it was time for me to say that I've been an elected official long enough. I've accomplished what I set out to do, and I'm very grateful. I think each person needs to make their own judgment about that. We should not have an age limit from where someone has to make that decision. But I do think it was the right decision that I made. I'm very happy that Angela Alsobrooks, which will be the new senator from Maryland on January the 3rd, to me, it's the right transition.
All right, well, 18 wins. That's a pretty